right, hello everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Geek Garage Podcast. I am your host, David, as always, and with me today, again, is my lovely wife and sometimes co-host, Lindsay Dassaw. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am excellent. I am very excited to talk about today's topic. We are in episode number 34, and this is a fresh start, anticipating MCU's Phase 4. So basically, we're going to be doing just that. We'll be anticipating Marvel's Phase 4. This is going to be a bit different than previous phases for MCU, mostly because they have the Disney Plus stuff. So it won't be just films like we're used to. It'll be both films and the stuff that will be released on Disney Plus, which I don't think we'll actually see the stuff from Disney Plus until like next fall of 2020. But yeah, it's basically, you know, the more unique of phases that we've seen so far. So yeah, we'll just kind of dive into it. It looks like there's about 13 or 14 different titles between the two platforms. And what we're going to do is we're going to split them up. We're going to talk about the movies first and then talk about the Disney Plus stuff afterwards. And we're going to go in chronological order for both. And I guess one thing to note, first, spoilers, because we'll probably get into a little bit of backstory of the movies that are set to come out in Phase 4 that are sequels. So yeah, spoiler alert. And then we will, there was another disclaimer I was going to throw out there and I totally forgot. I'll think of it like 5 minutes from now.
Well, one thing is like nothing is set in stone. So anything we say or discuss it, you know, we're just speculating a lot of it, and a lot of it is rumor. So it's all we have to go on right now. Yeah, there's the biggest thing I think we have right now is casting. Like there's really no major like plot lines thrown out there like with the directors, like, yes, this is what it's about. You expect to see this happen with X, Y, and Z. It's more like speculation, and a few directors have hinted about, hey, since we're bringing this person on to be this character, you can kind of sort of take that into consideration when you do your own speculation, like, this character is from the comic books, this is what happened with this character, so you can kind of guess as to what might happen. So that's basically the level that we're at right now. But before we get into the very first movie that's slated for Phase 4, we're going to just quickly go over what seems to be the very final details of the whole Spider-Man Sony Disney debacle. Basically, the CEO for Sony Pictures came out and said that the quote-unquote door is closed for right now on Spider-Man being in the MCU. He thinks that Spider-Man has a major future and a big role to play in Sony's soon-to-be like owned Spider-Verse, I guess. He didn't really call it that, but it's basically they want to create their own universe with Spider-Man characters, and they'll probably attempt to do a Sinister Six type thing like people have been talking about forever and a day now. But I can't really get too excited about this because I don't know. I mean, Lindsay, you agree with me that this latest incarnation of Spider-Man with the MCU is the best, and to see it leave so soon after they got it is pretty disappointing. And I mean, I'm sure that once Spider-Man makes his debut or return or whatever the fuck you want to call it in for Sony's stuff, then I don't know, it might be kind of glossed over and okay by then, but as of right now I can't really get too excited about it. I'm not able to. Yeah, I'm pretty heartbroken. I feel like Spider-Man being a part of the MCU was really great. And I don't feel like Sony has enough characters really left for Spider-Man to really interact with. I mean, my understanding is they've pretty much given up all the X-Men, and so it's just Spider-Man.
Well, I'm sure that they'll come up with, you know, some Spider-Man characters that we just haven't seen yet, and there's plenty from the source material that they haven't brought to the big screen yet.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, as far as like his team ups with other major superheroes,
okay,
like as far as like the Avengers and, you know,
right,
people like that, it's going to be rather limited. And it was very exciting to see Spider-Man in that context,
right?
And we're no longer going to be able to have that,
yeah,
in any really shape or form. Also, I feel like Disney has really done a better job of sticking to the source material, and I feel like Tom Holland is just an awesome Spider-Man, and he's done really well. Yeah. I enjoyed some of the past Spider-Man movies, but I will say that since he's gone over to Disney, it's come a long way, and I feel like I said it's in the best hands being with Disney,
right?
And I guess Marvel, Disney, somebody sold out, blah, blah, blah. But the movies that we've seen, I've enjoyed them all. They've been a lot of fun.
But yeah, if you want to read more about it, the website CBR, or Comic Book Reader, I think is what it's short for, they have a lot of good articles and, good factual information that you can be pretty reliant on. So yeah, we're going to move forward. And we're going to talk about the first MCU movie of Phase 4 that is slated, and it is Black Widow, the solo movie that has been highly anticipated for a very long time now, and we've been asking for it for a very long time, and we weren't sure if we were going to get it because of the way things turned out for Natasha in Endgame, but we're excited because looks like we're getting one.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's possible in some of the multiverses that are coming up that her character could continue in some way.
Sure.
But I'm pretty disappointed with her character arc as far as in game. And yeah, I'm excited for this movie, but I'm like, what does it really change? Like, what is it going to change about what we know about her and how we feel about her participation in the MCU?
I think it's actually going to, I don't know how much it's going to quote unquote change, but I have a feeling that we'll look at her character quite a bit differently after this movie. And it seems like this movie might also serve the purpose of introducing her successor, which we're going to get into here in just a second. But yeah, so like I said, it's the first MCU Phase 4 movie set for a release date of May the 1st of next year, 2020. Scarlett Johansson is one of the executive producers on the film. And one of the biggest kind of questions leading up to this movie, knowing that she unfortunately met her demise, or she jumped off a cliff herself in Endgame. We were curious as to exactly where this would take place, and we learned that it's supposed to take place during after the events of Civil War, but before Infinity War. So there's that 2-year time period chronologically that what they have to work with. So that's kind of the time frame of when this movie is supposed to take place. So we have that, and it seems like from all the information that we have about characters and what little we know about plot, it's kind of Natasha confronting her past or people, places, and things from her past. There's basically there's someone named Yelena Belova. I believe that's how you pronounce it. She's supposed to be played by Florence Pugh, which she was the female lead in Midsummer. If you saw Midsummer, we also did a episode on Midsummer a couple episodes back. Ted and I did. She, in the comic books, apparently takes up the mantle of Black Widow for a while. I'm not sure exactly how that comes about. If you're a huge comic book nerd and you want to come at me with the information that I need to kind of fill in the gaps, then I would love for you to come at me with that information. Then we also have a character named Milena Vostokov, which is played by Rachel Weisz. She was in The Lobster, The Fountain, a bunch of other stuff. I think she's rumored to play Iron Maiden. And then Alexei Shostakov. Does that look right? Shostakov.
Yeah.
Who's basically the Red Guardian. He's also kind of considered the Russian Captain America. And that is played by none other than David Harbour from Stranger Things. We all know, Hopper. We all love and adore him and hope that he comes back somehow, some way in the next season of Stranger Things. But that's, totally off topic. So, yeah, like I said, we, just like all the other movies and Disney Plus shows, we don't really have a whole lot of information. Mostly just kind of things surrounding the characters that they're bringing in. Apparently there's going to be a little bit of backstory on the Red Room, aka Black Widow program.
Well, like in the comic books, she was married to Lexi at one point. And
okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. I was reading somewhere when I was doing some research on this that I think a clip of this was played at it might have been Comic-Con, the San Diego Comic-Con, which of course is where all this was, announced. And, it was just a short clip from the movie, but yeah, it definitely looks like they're, bringing the business with this movie, and I'm really excited for it. I know that you are too, I guess. I know how much you like Black Widow, but I can see where you're coming from, how it's maybe a little difficult to get excited because it's like, what's the point? Because she's already dead.
Yeah, a little bit. Also, I'm waiting for them to announce for sure that Hawkeye's going to be in it, because if he's not, it's very disappointing to me. Yeah. Well, where was he in the whole, yeah.
Well, they said that Budapest is supposed, or Budapest, it's pronounced both ways. Either way, they were saying that that's supposed to play some sort of role in the movie, so whether it's like a flashback or they're just going to talk about Budapest again, this is nothing like Budapest. So, yeah.
Well, it's not been confirmed yet, and he'd better have more than a cameo, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some Hawkeye action, because we all know that they play really well off each other, so, yeah. So the next movie that we have to look forward to after the Black Widow film is The Eternals, and I really don't know a whole lot about this storyline. I've kind of taken some notes as far as the casting and who they're playing. Richard Madden is set to be Icarus. Angelina Jolie is set to be a character named Thena, not sure. Kumail Nanjiani is playing a character called Kingo. Salma Hayek, which I think is supposed to be the lead, more or less, and she plays a character named Ajak. She was quoted by Kevin Feige as like the leader of the Eternals. And there's, some other characters thrown in there, actor characters thrown in there as well. And the overall premise plot of the Eternals is that they are a race of immortal aliens, and they are sent to Earth by the Celestials to protect Earthlings against the Deviants. And
where the hell have they been?
I know, right? Maybe they just,
took a nap or something.
They put their phones on vibrate, and they totally missed the memo for the last 10, 12 years or so.
Yeah.
Either way, So they're, the Eternals are, supposed to come. Looks like November 6th of 2020.
My understanding is this movie was actually supposed to take place before all the MCU stuff.
Like chronologically?
Mm-hmm.
Like even before Captain Marvel?
Yeah, before Captain Marvel, before everything, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
Also, something I'm kind of excited about, but also a little disappointed. Lauren, is it Ridloff? She's playing Makari. She's slated to be the first deaf character in the MCU, which I'm a little disappointed by because I always wanted it to be Hawkeye. But
yeah. I mean, if you're gonna stay true to a character's origin story and all that.
Right, but
is this? I mean, you seem to know a little bit more about this actor and character than I do. Is this? Do you know if this character is supposed to be deaf in the comic books as well, or
yes,
is it just a?
No, as far as I know, she was deaf in the comic books as well.
Okay,
and then Lauren, from what I've read, she was a deaf child. She was born deaf to hearing parents. And so I think that's pretty cool. I hope they use some sign language and some cool stuff in the...
Yeah, that would be really neat.
In the movie. I love reading about... my heart is a special needs teacher, so special education teacher, so I always find it awesome when actors have a disability and they're incorporating it into the film, and so I don't know. We'll see. I hope it looks cool.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll be excited for it either way. I've seen. I don't think it was fan art. I think it was more like concept art, but official concept art of the Eternals, and it looked kind of cool. It looked like people in mech suits, maybe, or just characters that look like people that are in mech suits, but they're actually just... I don't know. I was looking at it on my phone, and it was during dinner when one of our children was pulling on my leg, so I didn't get a good look at it. But anyways, yeah, so the next film after that is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and just like the Eternals, I really don't know much about this one either. This one is set to be released in February 2021, and it's going to be the first movie of 2021. And as far as casting goes, there's really not a whole lot. There's Simu Liu as Shang-Chi and Tony, I want to say Lung, but it's Leung, so I am very sorry that I can't pronounce that. But he's supposed to be the Mandarin, and the Mandarin is the leader of the Ten Rings, and if you go back to the third and final Iron Man film, you'll remember that the Mandarin was supposed to be the villain, but they pulled the old switcheroo, and they were like, haha, he's not the real villain, this other guy is, and that's the reason why it's definitely not my favorite Iron Man movie, but still a good movie. But yeah, the real Mandarin is supposed to be in this film, and it's supposed to be the very first Asian-led cast film of the MCU, which is really cool. So they're staying true to the source material when it comes to the Mandarin storyline and the Ten Rings and all that. So that's really cool. And of course, just like the others, we don't really have much in the way of storyline, plot, etc. So I don't know. Do you know any more about this movie than I do?
Nope.
No? Cool. Well, we'll press on then. So then we have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and I think which is set to be released May 7th of 2021.
I think it'll be earlier than that.
You think so?
Well, I don't know. Either that or the release of WandaVision will be pushed back.
So what I heard was that Scarlet Witch / Wanda is supposed to be in this. She's supposed to make some sort of an appearance, and you have a little bit of information on her role in this film. And what she does is supposed to directly tie into WandaVision, which will be released either shortly before or shortly after on Disney Plus. So yeah, I mean, you were telling me a little bit about it before we hit record. So why don't you?
I was just saying that I thought it had to do with Wanda wanting to go back and retrieve Vision,
right,
or kind of recreate him, and now with all these multiverses that they've unintentionally created, that it's going to be about her bringing, I guess, Vision back into her life.
Yeah, that would be neat to see. Hopefully they can pull something off like that. I mean, with every character that they find a way to bring back from the dead kind of lowers the overall stakes of the MCU, because it's like nothing feels
permanent.
Yeah, and finite, and it's hard to get sad about
superheroes. I don't think it's meant to be finite.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure we can write off Captain America and Iron Man, but yeah, it is. There's a little bit of that where people come back to life, and you're like, how am I supposed to react in the end? It's like this weird game of The Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Sad, because it's going to be a while for them to be able to, work it in for them to come back.
Right, yeah. That's just Kevin Feige and all his writers working their mystical magic, keeping everything wide open so that, anything is possible for the MCU future. But yeah, like I said, it's kind of supposed to, according to Benedict Cumberbatch, it's supposed to have a little bit of a horror element to it. He really didn't elaborate or go into any greater detail other than that. So that should be interesting. I'm sure it's not going to be off the rails scary, because after all, at the end of the day, it's still an MCU movie and little kids are going to be going to see this. So unless they, slap this with an R rating, which is highly unlikely, then they will most likely just, it'll probably be a little ramped up, I think, from the way the first Doctor Strange was. Like with Dormammu, I remember watching Doctor Strange and Dormammu coming on, and Charlie walking in, and he was like, "Oh shit!" He ran out the room. I was like, "Yeah, Dormammu's a scary bitch." So yeah, I mean, I can kind of see what he might be getting at with some sort of scary horror element to it, but
yeah.
So, the last film slated for Phase 4 is Thor: Love and Thunder, which I think might be the most anticipated of the Phase 4 movies. Debatedly, it all depends on your preference, but Thor, of course, is, as of right now, the only movie in the MCU that is getting a fourth. That's correct, right? I mean, there's no other movie, characters that have gotten a fourth. I mean, there's been Iron Man 3, Captain America 3.
But it's not like really a fourth movie, because I mean, really they're kind of passing the torch on to the next Thor.
Right.
So it's
yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see this possibly being like the character Thor's last film, and because as we all know, they are bringing Jane Foster back. She's supposed to be the mighty Thor. Taika Waititi's back as the director. Hopefully he'll reprise his personal role as voicing it's Korg, right?
Yes.
And then Tessa Thompson playing Valkyrie. So we have, a lot of characters that we're familiar with coming back, which kind of amps up the level of excitement for this film, because Ragnarok was so awesome, and it looks like a lot of what made that awesome is returning, plus Jane Foster, and hopefully they'll have her do something in this one. And
she did science. What do you want?
Yeah, science, bitch.
That's right. She was science. She did it. Sort of.
Maybe. I don't know. She did some science in the first one, and then the second one, she basically just got possessed by the ether. I mean, she was just kind of there.
Well, sometimes shit like that happens, just like,
right.
Hawkeye was possessed by Loki, and
sometimes you find yourself on a distant planet, you get, shot up with some red dust, and, shit just happens like that sometimes, I guess.
Yeah. But my real hope is I want to see the return of Darcy, which is unlikely, but, out of all the Thor characters, she's my absolute favorite.
Right.
I love her snark. I just love her. I think she's funny. Granted, she doesn't do a whole lot per se.
Right.
But I find her humorous and funny.
Yeah, no, she is pretty funny. Hopefully she'll find her back, at least for, a couple scenes. So that would be cool. So yeah, that looks like it's pretty much it as far as the films confirmed for Phase 4. What we know about for Phase 5, which of course, that's on down the road, it won't be until the spring of 2022, which seems so far away, but it's really only sort of kind of 2 years. So we know Black Panther 2 is happening, looks like May of 2022. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 looks like it's going to be late 2022. Captain Marvel 2 doesn't really have any kind of time frame as a release date. They did mention that they were finally going to bring Blade into the MCU fold, which is really cool. I am kind of ashamed to say that I never saw any of the Blade movies that came out in it was the late 90s, right?
I don't know.
Weren't you a fan of Blade, those movies? I feel like you like those movies. When we first met, you were, pretty into vampire lore and stuff. No?
No.
Oh, well, maybe it was one of my many other girlfriends.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't it at all. So yeah, that's, of course, what's his name? He played Cottonmouth in Luke Cage, in the first season of Luke Cage on Netflix. And his name is slipping my mind. I could look it up on IMDb, but you can do it just as fast. So yeah, he's supposed to be playing Blade. We think we might get a Fantastic Four and a Mutants movie, separate. But we really don't know. We know that they kind of been talking about it for a while now, and they basically Disney has the rights to bring the Fantastic Four and Mutants into the MCU if they want to. So it seems like that could be a thing, and I think a lot of speculation surrounding the Fantastic Four is that they had purchased Stark Tower, and that's the reason why at the end of Homecoming, or I guess during the whole movie, is you see Happy facilitating the move of everything out of Stark Tower and to the new Avengers compound in I guess that's upstate New York. Anyways, yeah. So they the most speculation I've seen on the interwebs is that the Fantastic Four purchased that building, and that's where they'll reside when and if they make a Fantastic Four movie. So yeah, and then of course, no one knows anything about mutants other than it could be a thing. And then there will be a 5th Avengers film, or what are we up to? It's 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But it won't. There won't be any Avengers film in Phase 4. It won't be until Phase 5 that we'll see one. But I think Kevin Feige announced that there will be one. I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but yeah. So yeah, we'll kind of push onward to the Disney Plus stuff, and the first show that we have to look forward to is Falcon and Winter Soldier. I believe that's what it's going to be called.
That's all I've heard it called.
Yeah. So basically, what we know so far is that it's supposed to debut next fall, 2020, and it's supposed to revolve around a few things. One of those being society's reaction to a black Captain America, but Anthony Mackie. Yeah, sorry, I was trying to think of the actor who plays Falcon. He said that basically both him and Falcon have no interest in taking on the Captain America title. Like he'll simply fly around as the Falcon, but with Captain America's shield. He's expressed zero interest as the character, for not wanting to take up the mantle, wanting it to kind of quote unquote die with Captain America, because that belonged to him. But he'll take the shield. It's a pretty fucking cool piece of armor. So there's a couple other things that we know. There's going to be the introduction of a new character called John Walker, who's played by Wyatt Russell. He was in Ingrid Goes West, and he was in an episode of Black Mirror. And from what I've read, he was a character pretty prevalent in a iteration of the Captain America comic books, where he steps in as Captain America when Steve Rogers refuses to sign what is known in the film as the Sokovia Accords, but I think it's known as something else in the comic books. Either way, he basically steps up as Captain America, and I think there might be some battling back and forth between him and Falcon, to who's going to kind of, I guess, quote unquote, take up the mantle of Captain America. Not exactly sure if that's a thing, if it's just speculation. It's probably just speculation for now, but what we know about John Walker is that he, according to the comic books, he has superhuman physical abilities pretty similar to Captain America. They were given to him somehow, some way, by Dr. Carl Malus. And yeah, he I just realized saying the doctor's name out loud. It's might be a play on words, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want to work with someone named Malice?
Right.
Doesn't sound,
It's spelled M-A-L-U-S, not M-A-L-I-C-E. Malice as in, like, bad or evil, but still, like, I didn't really put two and two together, so I don't know. I didn't do as much homework on him as I guess could have or should have, but I'll leave that up to you listeners, to do that. We do know that Emily Van Camp is supposed to reprise her role as Sharon Carter, who, of course, played the great niece of Peggy Carter. And she's also slated to make an appearance in WandaVision, according to IMDb and certain reports, I believe. Do you have any thoughts or feelings about that? I know that you're a huge Peggy Carter fan.
I am.
All right. Well, apparently I don't know you as well as so I took it that you were a fan of hers just in the slightest because of the fucking backlash that I got from you when I was like all excited about, if Captain America is going to die at the end of Endgame, at least he got his girl. He got to go back in time. He got to get married to, the girl that he was in love with, and he got to, see that part of his life that he's always wanted. He got to have that. And you came at me with, she don't need no man, she need me, and you felt very strongly in that moment 100% against everything that I just said, and I was like, whoa, all right, well.
I just think that, like, Peggy Carter, she had her own story. She didn't need Captain America, and she got married to someone else. I mean, she lived a life, and a good one.
Oh, she got 2 lives.
Yeah, even without Steve. And I just think it's kind of backwards to say, oh, well, look what Steve gave her, and look, now she's got this great life because she's got Steve.
I don't think that's what they were trying to say at all. I think they were trying to say the opposite. Look what she gave him.
Well, she was a really strong character, and she accomplished a lot. And like I said, she married somebody else, and I just don't think, and I think that it messed up the timeline for Steve to go back and do that.
Yeah, I think with the Disney Plus stuff, we're going to see a lot of repercussions from messing with the timeline, and probably in the movies as well, because there's some people in here that aren't supposed to be here. So but that's pretty much all we really know about Falcon and Winter Soldier. We know that, like I said, it's supposed to take a look at society's reaction to him becoming the new quote-unquote Captain America. It's supposed to possibly explore a little bit of, racism in today's culture. So, it probably won't go too hard in the paint as far as, like certain political views. But, then again, we did have Captain America Winter Soldier, which was, like a political thriller, basically. So, I'm very interested to see where they go with this show. It's definitely the Disney Plus show that I'm looking forward to the most.
Probably me too. I'm looking forward to the snark between Bucky and Falcon.
Right. Yeah, it's been played off as like this, buddy comedy kind of situation where, I mean, we really don't know.
It's like an odd couple.
Yeah, it really is. Like, we really haven't seen them interact with each other a lot. But, we had, like, that one scene of them in that cramped car in, was it Austria or somewhere in Civil War? Mm-hmm. They were about to, do the big fight, and she met up with Sharon Carter, and she gave him all his shit back. And he was like, "Can you move your seat up?" He's like, no. So I'm sure we will have some of that attitude. I'm hoping so, because I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have WandaVision next. That's set as of right now, spring 2021, and they will possibly be bringing back Vision in some form or fashion.
Well, it's WandaVision. I don't see how they're going to have it without him.
Right. I mean, it's in the title, so, I mean, he definitely dead right now, but like you said,
well, he's a fucking robot, so boot that shit back up.
You know what? I have a feeling that it's not that simple.
Probably not. No.
But I think they'll find a way to manipulate one of those little spare timelines that I guess is a pretty good segue into the next show slated after WandaVision, which is the Loki show. And it's not called the Loki show. It'd be fucking funny if it's the Loki show with his guest, his pointy helmet. Sorry, I'm not funny. But no, so Loki is it's supposed to come out shortly after WandaVision, and you brought up an interesting thing that I don't know how factual it is.
I mean, I don't know how factual it is either.
But he as you all probably remember in Endgame, when they were at the bottom of Stark Tower trying, it was Tony and Bruce and Captain America, Steve Rogers. They're part of the time heist trying to get the Space Stone, and they flub, and Loki makes off with it. He takes off with the Space Stone as it's encapsulated in that thing with the two handles, one on each end. And so I think some speculation is leading to the show following him as he makes off with this with the Space Stone, and creates like a another dimension or alternate reality or whatever.
No.
So yeah, I think that's kind of the thing that we'll be seeing, maybe. Who knows? After Loki is What If, and I am not sure if this has any source material with it, like comic books. There might be, but what we know about it so far is that it's an anthology series. It's narrated by Jeffrey Wright, who is in Westworld, and that's pretty much it. Like it's supposed to be a look at, I think, all the or some of the films in the MCU, and like, what if this happened instead of this?
Like, what if Loki made off with that Space Stone in Avengers?
That's a pretty good example. So yeah, it's probably gonna be something like that.
I really have no idea.
I don't know. It sounds cool, but that's pretty much the last show that we have information on. The other shows are Hawkeye, sometime in fall 2021, Miss Marvel, which has been announced, but nothing, no release dates or anything. Same thing for Moon Knight and She-Hulk. Those three titles, they, like I said, they've been announced as in they're going to be things, but there's really nothing to add more to that than that there'll be things, there'll be shows on Disney Plus, which is cool. I mean, we definitely will not be short of entertainment on Disney Plus. It seems like Disney Plus is trying to do their best to ram a rod down Netflix's throat, with and two big middle fingers, like, we're gonna beat you guys, and plus we're gonna release all of our streaming statistics, because you fuckers can't do that. Well, I guess they could, but I don't know if Disney's going to do that. But I don't know. I just like to envision, Disney and Netflix just like duking it out. But
I don't really think it's like that. I mean, Netflix is going to be losing a lot once they lose their Disney content, but at the same time, they have a lot of original content. They have a lot of content that they've purchased from others.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't anticipate cutting off Netflix once we get Disney Plus or anything.
We'll definitely be getting Disney Plus. I mean, just for the Marvel stuff alone, but for for the kids to have all the Disney movies, like all the classic movies, all the Pixar movies, all the Mickey Mouse stuff. That's, I mean, it'll be well worth seems to be a very ridiculously low monthly subscription price,
which I'm sure they will jack up as soon as humanly possible.
Well, I mean, the monthly subscription, like the base price, I think is like $7.99, and you're probably right, it is like an introductory price for like the first year, and then it'll go up. But I'm sure it's also like Netflix, where that's like the $7.99 price is like one account, and then you boost it up to like 12 or 15 or 16 or $17 a month, and then all of a sudden you get like the HD version of channels like Netflix has, where and then you have up to 5 different accounts or whatever. So I'm sure their tiers will be something similar to that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We talked about all the stuff coming to the MCU during Phase 4. I thought A Fresh Start was a pretty appropriate title for this episode, because although we are definitely getting our fair share of sequels, there's the whole thing about Phase 4 is it's supposed to be this this new beginning for a lot of things, for a lot of reasons. We saw the end of so much in Endgame, and which naturally means that with that door closing, this one's opening, a lot of fresh starts, a lot of new characters being introduced, and I think it's definitely a good decision on Marvel and Disney's part to have this gap in between movies, where Endgame is, released in this past April, and we don't have Black Widow until May of next year, because I'm not exactly sure how anyone else feels, but I was getting a little bit of superhero fatigue. I mean, I'll still go see these movies until the end of time, but I was kind of getting to the point where, I mean, especially at the end of Endgame, where it was just like weighs so heavily. You're just like, so much is coming to an end, like so much death, and some of it's kind of like quote unquote happy endings, but yeah, it's just kind of weighed heavily on me, and I'm not sure if anyone else can relate to that sentiment, but that's kind of how I felt. So I feel like this break in the MCU, almost a year, I guess it will be a full year in between theatrical releases, it'll be a nice kind of palate cleanser. So yeah, Lindsay, do you have anything else to add?
No.
Cool. All right, well, we will sign off. Like I said during the episode, if you want to comment on any social media or on the website, as far as things that I kind of glazed over with my lack of knowledge, and what is coming with these characters or storylines, you want to fill me in on your vast knowledge, then I welcome it with open arms, because I'm always looking to expand my comic book knowledge. You could just say, hey David, why don't you just crack a fucking comic book? But I have so little time, and I have a podcast to run. So that's why I reach out to you fine people that know shit, and I get you to tell me the shit, and then I'll talk about the shit. It's just all very technical. But yeah, make sure you like the podcast, follow the podcast on all social media, subscribe, leave a rating and review wherever you get your podcast, wherever you listen to our podcast. It really helps us out. We love ratings and reviews even more than money. Money is great, but ratings and reviews help boost the podcast in all their respective hosting platforms like Apple and Google Podcasts, as far as helping people find us a little bit easier. So yes, if you'd like to leave us a rating and review, that would be awesome, and I would owe you a solid. So, yes. We will sign off now, and like always, be kind, stay geeky, eat lots of cheesecake. Thank you very much.